Before we get this show started, let's hear from our sponsor. Angler's Coffee roasts a full range of coffees with one goal in mind, delivering excellent coffee to every single angler. And I'm one of those anglers who loves Angler's Coffee. Great tasting, robust, and good to go. And if you haven't noticed, this is Dave from the Wet Fly Swing podcast. I'm here because I'm good friends with Greg, and we are both supporting a great coffee company, and you should too. Angler's Coffee just released a new subscription program, and you can get 22% off, not just 20% off. We're going the extra distance here. 22% off of this box and all products at anglerscoffee.com. Just use the coupon code FFI20 at checkout to get 22% off of great coffee today. That's anglerscoffee.com.
Hey, what's up, listeners? Before we begin today's podcast, just a bit of housekeeping here for you. And an amazing announcement that I want to make sure that you guys are definitely aware of. So, the first thing is on, Stillwater School. We have a Stillwater School program this year at Skacheen Lodge in beautiful British Columbia. So, for anyone that's ever wanted to learn Stillwater, this is the place. And your instructor is the one and only Phil Rowley. He and I have teamed up. We've partnered up to bring you guys a in-person, on-water, Stillwater School, and that's from June 24th to the 27th at the lovely and beautiful Skacheen Lodge out in British Columbia. So basically, if you've ever wondered, about the Stillwater fishery and how it works, the insect life, the lake life, different tactics, from subsurface to surface to indicator fishing, all that sort of stuff. Of course, Phil will do his fly tying as well, and what flies work for each time of the year and everything like that works on the Stillwater topic. So making sure that goes with you guys as well. So one of the really cool things is the lodge itself. I mean, it's $1,600 per person. It includes everything you can possibly think of, except for your fishing license. You're going to have to buy that on the government website. So all your meals, all your drinks, all your boats, rod fees, all that sort of stuff at the lodge is taken care of. The lodge offers 5-star food, super nice, beautiful setting, beautiful lodge. The accommodations are great. I can say this because I have been there, and that's why we're going back, because it's the perfect setting. It's perfect lodge. There's beautiful wild Kamloops rainbow trout in the lakes there. There's over 16 lakes. Each of them have their own private boat on them. So if you're out, you're fishing, you want to take after the course, you want to go and fish your own private water, that's totally possible to do so. These are amazing. Like, I can guarantee you're not going to see another person on that lake. So it's just you and a friend or your partner, whoever it is that you want to bring with you, if anyone. And it's just, to have a lake by yourself, to smash these massive rainbows that just fight like tanks. It's so wonderful. So again, that's June 24th to the 27th. It's a 4-day, 3-night program. It's at Skacheen Lodge in beautiful Kamloops, British Columbia, and it's also, Phil Rowley and I are putting that on. So again, that's the Stillwater School. One of the ways, if you guys are interested in learning more about this program or doing this program, and it is going to fill out because we only are limiting it to 12 people, is to reach out to me via DM, reach out to the lodge, that's Skacheen, SKITCHINE, lodge.com, and sign up for the Stillwater School there. Or, of course, you could always reach out to Phil Rowley, flyfishing.com as well as another option. So these are all great opportunities. It is going to go fast. Make sure you get yourself in there. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. It's, again, like I said, an amazing opportunity if you've ever wanted to learn Stillwater, or if you do know Stillwater and you do want to brush up on some skills and learn from one of the Stillwater pioneers and legends, Phil Rowley. All right, guys, let's get back to the show. Hey, fly fishing insiders, we are here with Togen's Fly Shop, and Justin and Stanton are back. Hey guys, what's up?
Hey Greg. Hi Greg, how you doing?
Great. Justin, what's new for Togen's in 21?
For 2021, we've come out with a full line of Togen's tools, starting with our all-purpose scissors up to our tungsten carbide series, along with ceramic bobbins, aqua pliers, and just everything you need to get started tying.
in Stanton. As a pro team tire, how does this benefit people?
Well, these are really high quality tools. The scissors are ultra sharp, able to cut threads, cut wires, get your thread right close to the fly, like on a small chironomid, like a size 18 or even a 20. I'm really enjoying one particular product I'm really enjoying is the hackle pliers. They have a fantastic grip. I use them to tie to quilled flies on nymphs and or hackle. They're fantastic with various types of different hackle. They really hold the hackle really well. I think people are really going to enjoy them.
Perfect. And Justin, where can we find these tools?
You can find the full collection of tools on our website at togensflyshop.com.
Excellent. Let's get back to the show. Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Keenan. This is Season 3 of the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. In this episode, we aim to bring you the biggest and best stories from those who work and make our fly fishing industry truly great. The Fly Fishing Insider Podcast dives deep into the past, present, and future of all our guests, uncovering their amazing stories and journey. Join us each week as we interview a new podcast guest. Also, if you're new to the show or not yet a subscriber, make sure you hit subscribe after this episode. Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. Today our guest is Dan and Jen Donavon from Musky Fool. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, going well. Thanks for having us, Greg.
No worries.
Very honored to be here.
What was that, Jen?
I said honored to be here.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. So, hey guys, so you know what? I want to get the audience to learn a bit about Musky Fool and how I came across your brand and stuff quite some time ago, and we've been talking ever since quite regularly because I just love everything that you're doing, and I do want to jump right into that, but I gotta stick with it here. So, how did you guys? You're a couple, you're a husband-wife team. How did you guys get so involved with fly fishing, and especially Dan? How did Man, you fish with your wife. It's kind of cool. I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a lucky guy, especially when she's rowing me in the boat. But yeah, so kind of to take it back a little farther, give you share the premise of the story is we got into fly fishing together. But I've been fishing, born and raised in Wisconsin, been fishing on every kind of method you can come up with. Since I was a young kid. It's kind of the classic story. My dad and uncle fished and, just got dragged along as soon as I could walk and talk and handle myself. Caught my first muskie when I was, I think it was just about 10. I can't even really remember. And then it just it was like slow start and then it just kind of took over. Took a little bit of a break during the college years, played competitive sports. And then really right at the end of college, it just kind of came back full swing. But this time, I was getting into fly fishing and really learning that. And it was weird because I didn't actually start with them on the muskie. It was all trout here in Wisconsin. We have a beautiful and really a variety of different trout fisheries from some of the inland, driftless areas to some of the Great Lake tribs. And that's where I started. Meanwhile, I was still fishing for muskies on gear. So about, almost 8 years ago now, 10 years ago, is when we kind of put them together. And we put them together, as a couple. Like we started fly fishing for trout. We started fly fishing for muskie together. But I'll let Jen kind of give you her intro into it, how she got into it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Oh, yeah, my family's fishing history isn't as exciting. We weren't super into it, honestly. I mean, we did, a little bluegill here and there, but that was about it. And when Dan started getting super into it, I was really intrigued. So, like you said, we picked up fly fishing for trout together. It kind of became our hobby together, spent all of our weekends out on the stream. And then we just thought bringing muskie into this was a no-brainer. And we loved the challenge of it. So we've never really looked back. And it's been really fun, too, getting all of our watercrafts and boats and learning how to row and all that good stuff. We're having a blast.
No doubt. And
Yeah, but
and I just love because you guys you're not just into it, like you guys are into it. And that's what I'm trying to point out and trying to paint that picture for the audience. Because I mean, first of all, like, you're also going after one of the hardest freshwater fishes. I mean, to most people to try and catch, right? And, you go from trout to, which is relatively easy to catch, easier than in a muskie, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Into it to muskie on a fly. And it's really cool. And then, you're doing that for a few years, and then you guys decided to be like, hey, let's open up a brand and a shop, and like how did that all transpire?
yeah, well, I'll let Jen answer some of that, but I think what I wanted to call out was like, you're absolutely right, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head in terms of like what muskie on the fly is. It doesn't. There are not a lot of people that just do it a little bit. It's either full tilt all the way down the rabbit hole, or you kind of don't do it. And we got suckered right in, and it was just it grayed everything else out. So that's kind of I love that about the sport and the people you get to meet in it is they're all Musky Fool in one way or another. But yeah, Jen, why don't you kind of give how did we get into the shop and everything?
No, I would just first add that it is the addiction of it all. It's such a roller coaster, but that's what keeps us coming back. And it's just, we must be kind of crazy, but it's a fun community for that because everyone really bonds over that. But how did we start the shop? Oh, that's a funny story. So we were in Hayward this summer, actually, scouting some spots and just bumming around, taking a week or two off and spending some time together. And we're always brainstorming, and it kind of just came to us. We were in the car, spitballing different ideas, thinking about how underserved this industry is and how hard it is to find stuff. And yeah, it was that light bulb moment of like, oh, should we do this? And then I think it was the entire car ride home. We just planned the whole business, and that was June. And then we launched in September. So we were in. Just like we were with Musky Fool. Once we had the stop idea, there was no turning back.
Yeah. And that was kind of the underlying premise of it all, was this whole idea that you're kind of, if you're a musky fly angler, you're probably a misfit, and you don't really fit into the fly fishing community, and you don't fit in the musky community. And that kind of led there to be this underserved. Fly shops didn't have the gear. It was tough to talk. So that's really what kind of was the premise of at least a musky only fly shop, which we definitely still get a lot of weird looks for.
Yeah, but I mean, it is growing rapidly in popularity, and especially this year. You know what I mean? I know for a fact, like the demographic of musky fishing is growing in popularity. A lot of the brands are also readapting their gear, whether it be rods and line and leader and stuff like that, like strictly for muskie. So, I mean, people are recognizing that, hey, this is a sport. These are fish that are healthy, worth targeting, right? So it's kind of cool. But what blows my mind is you're driving in your car, and literally from idea to conception, you did that in less than 60 days. And what's crazy about that is you guys are actually successful at that. Like, anyone that's listening out there needs to understand, like, you started a business in 60 days and you're actually successful at that. Like, man, congratulations, because that's a huge, huge, huge feat. I mean, that's just crazy. I'd love to ask you, like, what challenge you had, but I mean, you got 60 days of trying to get this set up. So, I mean, sure, if you can answer that question, that'd be great.
Yeah, no. And I'll make it seem a little less awesome, because just outside of fishing, Jen and my background, we've worked in business. I come from the tech startup world, growing businesses from nothing to something. Jen's worked for huge retail companies. So it wasn't our first go around the block on the business side of things, but it was kind of like, yeah, it happened. The idea happened, and it was just so clear. We just had to sprint the whole way through. Honestly, the biggest challenge, and it probably still is giving musky fly fishing enough credibility to be not only respected by customers, but more importantly by the vendors and the brands. And I give a lot of the early supporters that came with us a huge amount of credit and gratefulness for, because they didn't blink. They're like, Muskie on the fly shop to that? Perfect. Sounds great. Sounds like a great idea. Some of the other vendors were like, no, that's never going to work. We don't want to open you up. Muskie fishing is weird. So that's kind of just gaining that credibility. This is real. This is there's a fishery, there's a community. It's real. It's kind of been the challenge, getting that across. What about you, Jen?
I think too, just being online only was a challenge to convince people of that business model. We really believe in it. We still really believe in it. The pandemic, of course, kind of played well to that model. But aside, everything that's changed in our world the last year, we can reach so many more customers by being online only. And that's what's fun about it. When orders come in and we're like, oh my God, Canada, Pennsylvania, New York, we're just in Madison, Wisconsin, but we feel like our reach has been so wide, and just to get to know all those individuals has been a really fun part.
The big nationwide community of muskie anglers.
I mean, to follow that up, guys, I agree with you going online. I mean, if you had a little shop in Wisconsin, I mean, a guy like myself might never make it there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you got like musky flies, pike flies. I mean, they're roughly going to be the same thing out here in Canada. We fish for pike, right? In an area that I'm at, so I can hit you up for those items. Do you know what I mean? I can hit you up for those leaders and those materials that I need, and that's what serves that purpose. Like, it's there, and it's so niche, and I love it because I'm a Stillwater guy, and I feel the same with Stillwater fly fishing, right? It's just niche. You guys you're going to hit a bigger audience for sure doing that. And the fact that you're online, I mean, you're going to find your tribe for sure, your muskie tribe, and they're just going to support you even further. So that's so cool. I really love it. Here you are, like, you guys carry all the major brands of products and stuff like that. So walk us through, like, here you are, you set up your shop, like, so people know, what to expect, like what's in your shop, like what do you offer, what's your best selling products, and where you guys are kind of taking that.
Yep. So because of the business, we like to say we get to be fish specific, location agnostic, and what that allows us to do is, instead of worrying about all the different types of species and methods, we get to go really deep in one thing. And I hope people feel that comes across in our product offering. When it comes to fly tying materials or hooks or line, I don't want to just have one muskie line. I want to have every muskie fly line made. And I want to be able to tell you what is going to be better for which situation on which rod. Because particularly, Greg, that's what I want.
Yep.
Like, as a muskie nut, musky fool, that would be sweet. So we say, like, one-stop shop for muskie on the fly. And that is full gambit from flies, fly tying materials, flies by different fly tires, rods, reels, line, and then, even stuff that you wouldn't find at a traditional fly shop, like big, huge musky nets and bump boards and, a variety of cool custom dyed feathers. So, if it touches indirectly or directly muskie on the fly, we want to be able to talk about it. We want to be able to have it for our customers. But I think what we're trying to tap into is also just a bigger than just the products, which is really to bring a platform to this and bring it to credibility, bring people a space, digitally, where they can talk about it, find knowledge, share information. So, we just wrapped up in late winter a musky fly tying series where we're just bringing fly tyers on to just talk about it, learn more about it. So that stuff's what's really fun to us. Of course, we're gear junkies. We love all the gear, all the new lines that are coming out. But we love to kind of be around our muskie brother and sisters and kind of learn something, talk about something, share some info. And that's been really the cool piece. And I hope people see a lot more of that from us in the future.
Well, I think they will. And to follow that up, I mean, being niche on something and knowing your product, your brand, your species that you're fishing for so well, you get to provide that education to your clients or to your customers or to your non-customers and just dudes that are asking, right? And that's really cool, right? You don't have to, like a shop might, like here in Canada, for instance, we don't really have a saltwater fishery, but if, a shop in Canada, like where I'm looking outside the studio window right now and it's full of snow, but I mean, I walk into my shop and pick up a permit line right now. Do you know what I mean? And the guy, I'll ask the kid, I'll be like, hey, tell me about this permit line. And it's like, and they'll fumble their way through it. Right. I mean, and I get that. And the chances are they might not have, necessarily fished for a permit before. Do you know what I mean? So you guys just get to eliminate all that guesswork and that bullshit and go straight to the fact and say, man, we know Muskie, and that's what we do. And I mean, it's awesome. Like that educational aspect, the fact that you have those courses those classes where you're teaching, or you have those tires teaching stuff like that. I mean, I think it's great. I remember one time, Dan, phoning you. You're like, yeah, man, I'm driving up to pick up some feathers. So with that said, it's like, so where are you getting your supplies? Like, where were you driving to get your feathers? Because obviously you're getting some custom work done on that.
Secret stuff. No, it's not secret. It's kind of, it's more about this like Muskie misfit method, like a lot of this cool stuff was kind of happening in the basement. So, a guy that needs no introduction in the Muskie world, Brad Bowen, has been like cranking away at bucktail and feathers and all sorts of cool, crazy stuff up in the North Woods. And he's kind of got the castle built around some of the best bucktail you can get your hands on. So that was one, to be able to work with Brad, not just because of what he's done for Muskie on the Fly, but of course because of the products he puts out was huge. And then another couple awesome dudes that we just, kind of did the same thing with was right down the road from Brad is a guy named Tom, who's the owner of Chippewa River Rods. Probably not a name brand rod that many people have heard of, but if you're a Muskie person, it's like number 1 or 2 on your list. It's made by a Muskie guide, and it's the same deal. He saw no rod makers were really making a rod for this, so he built one on his own, and it's awesome.
So you guys have that rod, no doubt?
Yeah, we have one of his rods, but you should check out what we got as well as give him a shout. He's got some other cool stuff. He can do a custom rod for you. So if you want something fully custom.
Mine has pink brass.
Yeah, Jen's got a little pink on it. You can go crazy with it. He's a really good guy. There was another one, just to fully answer your question, a gentleman named Dave Hupp, who owns and operates Wolf Rod Co. down in Kentucky. And he's a Muskie nut. They got a great Muskie fishery down there in Kentucky, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And he saw, a need for kind of a different type of rod business. So he owns Wolf Rod, and we sell a lot of their products, really great 11 weight for Muskie and 12 weight. And he's the one doing the custom dyed feathers. I actually just got a bunch of pictures last week on some crazy new ones. So because Muskie's so niche, there's also all these other niche products that Hairline doesn't carry or Sage doesn't carry. And and we love bringing attention to those because they're local small businesses like us. They're Musky Fools. And they're also just great products.
Awesome. I just love that. Yeah, the support you guys are giving each other is great.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Yep.
No doubt. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, let's shift. I mean, how spoiled are you guys with Muskie? I mean, right now, is it like when's the prime time, all that sort of stuff? Like, do you see the shot picking up, and then how do you guys get out? Like, do you get out on the water much, or are you always in the shop? Like, where are you at?
Oh, good question. Well, right now we've got the itch because I think before we jumped on and started recording, we were talking about the weather. So it's cold. And it's not season. So we're going after trout right now and waiting for May, eagerly waiting for May. Spending a lot of time in the shop. We're hoping to travel down south a little bit shortly here too. See a few people in the space and hopefully get on some fish and pick up a new raft. Yeah,
so we're going to be heading down to Tennessee, Virginia, do a little fishing there to scratch the Muskie itch before things open up in Wisconsin in May. But, staying really busy right now. The shop, kind of cool about Muskie is many things, but you do have almost a year-round fishery. So in like Canada and Wisconsin, things are pretty much over in December, and right as they start to freeze up, that's really when the fishing gets pretty hot down south, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia. And that stays pretty good, like until March and April. And then right as that's starting to taper off, May comes, Canada, Minnesota, Wisconsin, everything starts to open up, and off you go. So right now, a lot of Midwest, upper North America customers are deep into fly tying. We're selling a lot of bucktail, a lot of fly tying supplies, kind of double clicking on that. But we also have a lot of folks down south who are in season, buying line, getting a leader. And we expect those to kind of switch and do a little swap right around April or May.
I love it. That's kind of cool. That's kind of why I wanted to point that out as well. So let's say it's May. I'm coming. I phone you up. I'm like, Dan, I'm coming to Wisconsin. I want to go muskie fishing. Like, I don't know what I need. Help me out here, dude. Like, walk me through like what I need, and then walk me through like where I'm going to target these fish.
Yeah. And let's not make that a hypothetical. Let's actually make it happen. All
right, buddy. Talk to the Canadian government first, because our borders are pretty tight right now.
Maybe they'll let me come up there if they let you come down here. But yeah. So here in Wisconsin, we, I have a bias, but I think we're in Mecca of muskie fishing in general. We have thousands of miles of major native river systems that have them, small creeks to big rivers and everything in between. And we have a plethora of lakes, from pothole lakes to huge flowages to the Great Lakes. And they're pretty much everywhere, that there's the right conditions for them. We love, I think if we had to pick, we love to be floating down a river, either out of rafts or drift boats or bigger, river boats, and, just kind of all day blind casting. We do a lot of lake fishing though still, when flows aren't right, or there might just be a perfect or window, or sometimes, you can't do an 8-hour float, but you want to go fishing. So we'd run either of those programs, but yeah, we're blind casting all day. It's going to be, it's a joke in the space, but musky fly fishing is a little bit of a beatdown. If you want to come catch a lot of fish, don't go musky fly fishing. You want to really earn it. You want to be on a process and a journey, and you want to have a kind of a little magic in a bottle moment where everything seems right. Yeah, muskie's going to give that to you. You're going to have to work for it. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of casting to accomplish the goal. So that program is, we're talking about fish that in Wisconsin, probably a really, good, healthy fish is above 40. A real trophy is in that 48, 50 plus inch range. And so we're going after them with big, heavy tackle. So there's a lot of different opinions. My personal opinion is kind of 10 weight is the minimum. Can you catch them on lesser gear? Sure. Is it good for your arm and the fish?
Not so
Probably
sure.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be done, and it can be good. There's not a lot of research there, so we don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. But I like to get them with 11 weights, 12 weights. That's kind of the bread and butter. As far as the flies go, we're throwing anything in from early season. It can look like a big trout streamer, maybe 5, 6 inches, 6, 7, 8 inches in there. As the season progresses, we're going to get bigger. And this is generally speaking, right? It's not like I'm not throwing a small fly in fall, but generally speaking, I'm getting throughout the season as that progresses, up until there's guys throwing 15, 18, 20 inch flies in late fall. So it can get pretty crazy.
20 inch flies?
Oh yeah. And I'm sure there are guys, if they're listening to this, that have beat that mark easily. 3 hooks, a bunch of shanks, probably like 2 whole bucktails on there. Oh yeah.
Oh wow, crazy.
Yeah, yeah. There's actually a contingent of the musky fly world that's kind of doing something unique, and it's kind of this blended. It's kind of like if you take true fly fishing, spay fishing, and gear fishing, and swirl them up together. They're throwing 15 weights with huge flies, and they're mainly just water loading them. So there's like the musky fly fishing world has even started to splinter into different different ways of doing it, which is awesome. Like, we love to see that spectrum of people going after them in different ways. So I say that because I don't want to paint this picture that there's only one way to do this. There's definitely not. Definitely not.
Well,
we do it in a bunch of different ways.
I'll probably jump into some ways on how to do that. I wanted to ask though, like, what would a 2-foot musky fly cost you? Like, what, like, you know what I mean? Like that's yeah.
I don't know if I've seen it for sale. We actually might have a couple of these big, like 15-inch game changers, or just we got a guy in Wisconsin, David Holmes. He's got this pattern called the Mega Glider, and it's just like the most amount of bucktail ever. But the thing is so sweet in the water, and those are like $45, $50, and they're, you know, he's probably not making a lot of money on that because of the amount of materials that go into it.
You ever lost?
Yeah.
Has anyone ever lost one? That's gotta suck. I mean,
You'll see videos of guys in the middle of winter taking their waders off and going swimming to chase their musky fly down because
we've netted our
flies. It's not like trout flies. Or I tend to treat trout flies like bullets. If I lose one, it's like, I'll just replace that. Like musky flies, you're gonna stop the whole show to get that thing off the bottom.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. So, crazy. Hey, you know, I got a question for you, Jen. Maybe you can answer this. Are muskie, like, are they migratory, or are they like stationary? And where I'm kind of going is, like, I'm wondering if there's a difference between like lake muskie and river muskie.
Oh yeah, they're definitely migratory.
They are. So what I'm wondering is if there's a difference in size, the ones that are swimming within a river versus a lake. I feel like, again, being a stillwater guy, knowing that a lake contains so much food sources. Do you know what I mean? For fish. They don't have to work as hard to get them, particularly for trout out where we are. So I'm wondering if that's the same process for the fish in the rivers, for muskie, where you guys are.
It's very similar. Sorry I jumped in. We got Jen, the dog is asking to be given attention to, but it's very similar to what you're feeling there. I think big difference is, so we have muskies that move around quite a bit. We've done a little bit of, I say we, I don't mean Jen and I. Like the muskie community, some research, pit tagging them and stuff like that, and it's amazing how much they move, several miles a season, up and down, and even more. To your other question, the big river versus lake difference. So originally they were a river fish, kind of in their genesis. So that's probably what their natural habitat is. A river muskie is going to be a little smaller and leaner, but that's also going to make it a lot stronger and more aggressive. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sit in ambush all day long. It does have to move a little bit more and, maybe fight currents. So definitely still get really big. But like the next world record is probably not coming out of a river. It's most likely, very likely a big lake or a great lake. And that's just where they're going to get bigger. They have more forage that's readily available. They don't have to work as hard. Yeah. And there's also, you don't have to go. There's a couple different strains of muskie, and some of the big Great Lakes strains just are genetically set up to get bigger faster. So
interesting. What are some of the strains?
So, three of the major ones, you got the Leech Lake strain, which is kind of from Minnesota, from Leech Lake. You got the Wisconsin strain, and then you have a couple others, but one of the more popular is kind of called the Great Lakes strain. And they definitely look a little different. That Wisconsin strain is that classic dark kind of green, clear hue. Mm-hmm. Lake strain and the Great Lakes strain are pretty similar, more spotted, a little lighter in shade. But those, so again, not to get too far into it, but Wisconsin's interesting because we have the native Wisconsin strain, but we've also experimented with stocking the Leech Lake strain. And initial data, it's kind of hard to interpret, but it leans towards the Leech Lake strain growing a little faster. But this is not a, perfect science by any means. But the world record, the current world record on the fly is the Leech Lake strain. So it's likely that that'll kind of continue.
Cool. I like it. Is this a fish that can be stocked? Like it's hardy enough that it can be like, is fisheries, departments of fisheries, are they stocking muskie?
Absolutely. There's a lot of the reason that muskie now crosses from Washington State to New York is purely because it's stocked. Virginia, Tennessee, a lot of the fisheries, like many stock fisheries, right? Does it need to be stocked because there's no natural reproduction, which is annual stocking, and we have some of that still. We're actually right here in Madison, surrounded by a couple world-class muskie lakes that only exist because they're stocked every year. But then you have several that are stocked back in the day and have now kind of started to naturally reproduce. And then, of course, you still have a pretty good, but unfortunately dwindling amount of wild, native, unstocked watersheds, especially up in Wisconsin and the upper Midwest.
Mm-hmm. And do you think like were they stocked just merely for like sport fishing, or like is there another purpose?
Yep. No, it was mainly sport fishing. That was kind of, especially in the as things started to turn away in the 40s, 50s, 60s. They were still shooting them with guns when they got them near the boat. As Muskies Inc. is an organization that got really involved 80s and 90s, even a little in the 70s, to really turn this into a catch and release fish.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, there's always a few exceptions, but for the most part, muskie anglers are catch and release fishermen. They're not pursuing that fish to eat it. And even if they are catching illegal fish, I would bet you 9 times out of 10 they're letting it go if they can.
Interesting. Crazy. Huh.
Yeah. Unlike our friends, the pike, we love to eat. We love to eat pike here in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys like to eat pike, huh?
Yeah, just a bit.
Do you find it bony, or do you know how to get around that?
No,
yeah,
they are.
They're bony. I can't fillet them worth shit, but we tend to make them whole and pick it apart.
Put a lemon in it and call it a day.
That's what we do up here in Canada as well. So it's kind of funny.
Yep.
Some of the best pike fishing I've ever done has been in the Northwest Territories, and I mean there's some big pike up there, that's for sure. So
you guys crazy pike. I mean, your pike get bigger than some of our muskies. So
they do, yeah. I mean, now, we don't get to fish for them that often. Like, well, in British Columbia, don't get to fish for them that often because they're just in, like, one certain little portion, like, northeastern British Columbia, which no one's really going to unless you're going to target that species. But they are in Alberta, and they're in their east, like, just above you guys in Ontario and all that sort of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, it's a great fishery. The pike fishery out here, a lot of sportsmen love it. So I'm assuming it's the same down there as well with you guys.
As far as like people just getting deep into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think muskie in Wisconsin is a state fish. So that always is like higher up on the pyramid. Muskie Joe's bar, you can probably find 100 of those if you're in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
But, the pike just don't have the same, they didn't hire as good a PR agency as the muskie down here. They need a better brand reputation because they're great. I mean, we love catching them. We hate catching them when we're going after muskie, but that's probably the same with everybody.
That I just was going to ask you that. I'm going to be like, well, they're such a similar species in many ways, right? So they live in the same areas and they target the same stuff. I was just going to ask you that. Do they? When you're fishing for muskie, I was going to ask you, do you like, I don't want to say foul hook, but do you accidentally like, hey, damn it, I got a pike on, or you know what I mean? Yeah.
We had a good one this last fall. I for sure thought I had a muskie on, and it ended up being a pike. And we have on video me just being like, "Damn it!"
Yeah, and we're talking about like a pike that's pushing 40 inches in Wisconsin. Like that's a great fish, and Jen's just over there like, screw this.
Yeah.
Like if you would have pulled it out of the water and it would have just been a little different, I would have been happy.
Yeah,
like why? I don't know.
You run into them though. If you're up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and you're muskie fishing, you're going to encounter them. There are definitely muskie waters that don't have pike, but a lot of them have both. The pike are just usually smaller, and you find them. You'll find them in similar spots. Yeah, you'll find them in similar spots. depending on the season. Sometimes they're obviously spawning earlier and moving late, but they're always around.
They like the same flies, that's for sure.
They just don't torment you the same way. They're not going to go, come up to the boat and go around a figure eight times.
Well, it's
so they
I was just
harder. I can't really tell.
I was just gonna ask you about that. I was just gonna literally say, hey, like, are they chasing figure eights? And you kind of answered that. So, for those that what's the purpose of the figure eight? Like, is it actually effective?
Like 100%. Like, if you're not doing it, I would say, just like pulling it out of my ass, I bet you're missing 50% of the fish, like that you don't even know are there. Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. And it's a lot of like, there's not really two stages of it. There's like, did you get a fish to follow? And then did you get a fish to convert in the follow? Because those can be different. Mm-hmm. Those can be different games. But it's amazing. Why? I don't know why they do it, but they do it often. They do it in a lot of different situations. And it's like, if you're not doing it, you're missing fish. That's how I would put it. And if I could, like, a typical musky angler who can cast a fly rod and knows where to find them, and is generally pretty fishy. Like, if they're having trouble, I bet it's because they're not executing figure eights. They're not doing figure eights every time. Because that's when they show up. I mean, you can ask, there's just too many times where you don't see a fish follow, you don't see anything, you don't see a swirl, and you're on your third figure eight, and he just shows up out of nowhere and eats it. And it's like, how easy would that have been to just recast and never even know that fish was there? So that happens once, and like that happened once to me, and you didn't have to tell me anymore. And now it just happens. It just happens all the time. I've got stories. I don't have stories of them eating oars. I know people that do, but I've had muskie come up and try and chomp on my trolling motor too. Like they're just, I don't know what's going on in there. I really don't.
They're definitely aggressive. Yeah, definitely aggressive. So yeah. I love it. So, hey, I got a question for you, Jen. When we talk about muskie, like, tell me about some of the key target areas that they like to, like 2 or 3 areas that they just love to hang out. Like if you were to go out or you were going to bring someone, what are some areas that you would start off hitting in a river system for sure for muskie? But before you answer that question, I just want to get a quick answer in here from our quick sponsor for the show. Hey listeners, I'm here with Bob Letta from All Alaska Outdoors. Bob, how long has All Alaska been operating for?
We hit the quarter century mark last year, and we're ready to kick off the second quarter century here in 2021.
Awesome. And where's All Alaska located?
All Alaska Outdoors is on the Kenai Peninsula. We're just outside the town of Soldotna. We're on a beautiful float plain lake, about a 2.5-hour drive from Anchorage.
Awesome. I love it. And what can guests expect when they come to book a trip with All Alaska Outdoors?
Well, typically a guest would fly into Anchorage, rent a vehicle, drive to our lodge. They would have private suite accommodations. They would have a full kitchen, private living area, bathroom, high-speed wireless internet. Our packages include all of their fish processed, ready to go, airline ready, package to fly home. And they would select from a very wide variety of activities to do, customize their own week, local river fishing, saltwater fishing at 3 different locations, and array of flyouts that exceeds anything anybody on the Kenai Peninsula offers.
And what type of species of fish can guests expect to target with All Alaska Outdoors?
The local rivers offer all 5 species of salmon: king salmon, silver salmon, sockeye salmon, humpback salmon, and chum salmon. The flyouts allow for fishing for grayling, giant northern pike, lake trout, rainbows, Dolly Varden. There's good local fishing for Dolly Varden and rainbows as well. And then the saltwater, we've got halibut, sea bass, lingcod, salmon are out there. We're catching kings, silvers, and humpies pretty regularly in the salt.
What can guests expect? Tell us what makes All Alaska unique and special.
I think it's our versatility. We just offer so many different things. We've got a really deep tool bag. We customize and try to meet the guest needs analysis for what is their perfect week. We can adjust packages to meet their budget. And I just think it's an amazing opportunity to have a reasonably priced package where you can put together local trips that are on the road system and flyouts and just do something different every day.
And where can we find All Alaska Outdoors?
You can see us on the web at allalaska.com. You can call us at 907-953-0186. And we have a nice Instagram page and a Facebook page where we cover a lot of what's going on.
Perfect. You've heard it here with Bob from All Alaska Outdoors. Hey, you guys, we're back.
Hey.
Hey, so I was just about to ask you before we heard from our sponsor there, Jen, I was asking you what, like, 2 areas to target in a river. If I was to go on a river right away, what am I kind of looking for?
Yeah, for sure. So we're generally targeting weeds and edges and really breaks in the currents. So going after, we call those fish spots, deep holes, timber. That's really the full recipe. And overall, it just depends on the season. So in the spring, they're near the spawn ground. Some are really spread out and really all over. And the fall, we're fishing the deeper holes. We try to really hit the banks. And sometimes we're rowing pretty fast, I'd say, but sometimes we're stopping on certain spots. Mm-hmm. And we found that we have to hit the middle of the river as well.
Yeah,
There's
I would say.
In there that you can't miss. Yeah.
Especially on the bigger river systems, you'll see a lot of people just go down the river, pound the banks, and just row right past the mid-river structure. And that's always good musky haunts for sure. Mm-hmm. Anything that breaks the current, they're going to sit in it.
Well, there you are. Are you guys aren't guiding out of the shop, are you?
No, we are not, which is probably a little untraditional, but one, it allows us to really focus on what we do well, which is build this company. Two, it allows us to work with all the amazing guides that are out there. So a lot of the muskie guides, because there aren't any muskie fly shops, a lot of them are independent. Mm-hmm. And we get kind of swim with them, and hang out and recommend them and refer them. So if anybody's interested in getting a lay of the land in terms of muskie guides all over the world or all over North America, we're happy to give our opinion. We don't get paid for it, but we're happy to share so people have a good experience.
I love it. Do you guys have a network or whatnot that if someone was to reach out to you or whatever, hit you up on the gram and say, hey, Dan, heard the episode, I'm going to Wisconsin, do you just say, hey, here's 5 guides that we recommend or something like that?
Yeah, and we can take it a step further. We kind of keep a curated list of everyone that's a muskie fly guide. Some we know, some we don't know. And then the ones we know is, trip preferences. Some guys are running rafts on overnight trips. Some guys are running power boats. And you can kind of feel people out and just make sure, you're going to be in, this town. Yeah, go check them out. So we can tailor some stuff. We can also just give people a list of names to go hit up. So we can help them out no matter how they want to do it.
Cool. Well, again, the support, the community support, you guys are right there with that. So definitely let's fast forward 5 years. I mean, you guys are freaking killing it right now, but, in 5 years, where do you see this going? What would you like to see? Where do you see this going? What are you working towards?
Yeah. So when we started this, or when we had the idea, we said, we thought it was a good idea. We said, this is going to work. But we asked ourselves, we're like, is this going to be a net add for the fish or a net detractor? And what I mean by that is if we look back and we say Musky Fool started in over 10 or 20 years, did it help muskie or did it hurt muskie? Did more people get on the water, abuse the fish, ruin spawn habitat because of us? Or did more people care for the resource, care for the fish, get involved because of us? We want to be the latter, and that's really the true north of what we're building. Is if we can get a community around it, if we can put a brand around this, if we can get people the product, get them involved, get them loving it, full on Musky Fool, odds are they're going to be a pretty good, guardian of the musky watershed. Mm-hmm. And it's important to us because at least where we're from in the warm water scene, like muskie are the top predator. If they're doing well, pretty good idea that the rest of the watershed, the rest of the species are doing well beneath them. So that's kind of what we're building towards. We know we're really small right now. We're just a tiny little voice in the corner, but hopefully we can start to broadcast that more and more.
Awesome. I love it. So guys, you know what? It's been honestly, it's been fantastic talking to you. I've learned a lot. I can't wait to get out there. I hope we can get out there to fish with you. So, like always, though, I want to give you the last word. What would the last word from both you guys be to the musky community and to the listeners out there?
I'll go first. I mean, thank you. Thank you is what I want to say for kind of opening your arms and supporting us and continuing to push us to be better. And for just being that crazy musky fool that we all are. We just say thank you.
Yeah, I would echo the same. And we're always open to feedback too. I know we've been pretty vocal about that. Any other ideas you guys have, we really want to just bring it to this community and continue the excitement that we've really garnered in the last few months. Awesome.
And where can people find you at?
Yep, all the traditional spots. So it's muskyfool.com. That's musky with a Y. And then our Instagram is probably where things are going live the fastest, which is at Musky Fool. Otherwise, you can also find us on Facebook. Come check us out.
Perfect. I'm going to make sure that I put all those details within the show notes so people can find you guys. So I definitely want to thank you both. It's been awesome. I love talking muskie. It's definitely a fishery that I'm going to have to get out and try. And I think a lot of other listeners are going to have to do the same as well. And, let's keep going. We support you guys. We love everything you're doing. You guys are absolutely crushing it. Definitely, check it out. So Dan, Jen, thank you guys. Listeners, I want to thank you as well.
Thank you, Greg. And likewise, man. We love the podcast. Keep on keeping on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No worries, guys. You've been listening to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, tell us by liking this episode and subscribing to the show. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. See you next week.